So the 2023 NFL regular season is all wrapped up. All 18 games for all 32 NFL teams are in the books, and that includes my San Francisco 49ers, who in their Week 18 regular season finale played the Los Angeles Rams in a rematch from their Week 2 meeting in Los Angeles, where the 49ers won in that game in LA in a back-and-forth affair. But this time around, in Week 18, it was a much different story and a much different kind of competition between the two teams. And why do I say that? Well, they were trotting out a bunch of backups. Why were they doing that? Well, this essentially was a game where neither team really had anything to play for the most part, especially the 49ers, because a week prior, they had not only already claimed their ticket to the big January dance, but a week prior, in Week 17 in Washington, they had already clinched the NFC's top seed. So they get that 1 week vacation and home field advantage that comes with being the number 1 seed, the top dog in the conference, pal. So there was essentially nothing left to play for other than, getting some reps in before the big push for what the ultimate goal, which is the Super Bowl. So just getting some reps in and then just getting out of there. Meanwhile, for the Rams, they, for some odd reason, decide also to go rest their starters as well, like Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and other key starters as well. So in place of Matthew Stafford, you got Carson Wentz. The other key starter in this game that remained was not Ben Skowronek, Puka Nacua, who was very close to setting rookie records. So they kept him in there to let him set those records, and then later pulled them out. So there was that. And anyway, but yeah, other than that, it's essentially a nothing game for both these teams, other than just getting some reps in. But actually, I want to correct that, because the Rams were still kind of fighting for seeding, but from looking at their approach towards this game, it looked like they didn't really care all that much where they played, whether it was in Detroit or in Dallas, for that matter. So either way, it was going to be a game of the backups. At least they're getting some reps in case they are for somehow needed for the postseason push. Gain some reps in, some valuable playing time in this game between each other. So yeah, for me personally, I mean, it was whatever. It was nothing. It is what it was. But in actuality, when you get the opportunity to go see a game in the flesh, you take it. You might as well just take it. And that's exactly what I did. I went to go see this game in the flesh, and it was fun. Shout out to my brother for allowing me to go watch this game with him and his friends. So that was pretty cool. We had a good time. Pretty engaging game for a game that didn't have really much at stake. A game where the backups played hard in this one. And yeah, it was a game that could have been won too for the most part, but it was still fun. It was still a fun game for what is now my third 49ers game that I have attended. Now I attended 2 games last year. The Week 2 game against the Seahawks, the Week 12 game against the Saints, and now the season finale against the Rams. So fun stuff. But for this game. But let's talk about this game per se. I mean, I don't really have much else to say because it's just backups, getting the reps in, getting tuned up for in the event they're needed. So not much to say in this recap for this week. So I would say Sam Darnold, he was starting in place of Brock Purdy. So Kyle Shanahan's giving the starting quarterback a rest, like a essentially 3-week rest. Hopefully, Purdy, who's been dealing with a shoulder stinger, he gets some valuable rest, but hopefully doesn't come off rusty for the playoffs. But anyway, back to Sam Darnold. He had himself a nice first half, and some of the starting offensive players that were out there, like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Sam Darnold played solid in the first half, frequently finding Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk to advance the ball, and things were going well for the offense. But then once the starters started coming out, everything just started to go downhill. And especially, when the Rams went on that long drive in the third quarter, it's just like, you're just waiting. You're just waiting for that moment. And it just never came for Sam Darnold and the Niners' backup offense. Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, the two backup running backs behind McCaffrey, they made a very solid 1-2 punch. They were like a good positive for the 49ers run game. Mitchell accounted for the opening touchdown. They frequently found holes in the 49ers offensive line that they were providing them. So they were a good 1-2 punch in this game, not just always trying to run in the middle as they frequently try to do. So most of the key stars in this game, as I mentioned, like Javon Hargrave, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, Debo, Ayuk, they played either for a series or two or for like a quarter or even the first half before they got pulled to avoid any sort of major injury. Speaking of injury, though, we mostly came away unscathed, but there was one injury that happened early in the game, and that was to defensive lineman Clinton Farrell. I noticed, during the game when I was up there way up in the stadium, like I was sitting like in the 300s, a little scary to be honest with you, like sitting up that high, but still good. Not a bad view, to be honest with you, not a bad view. But anyway, I saw defensive lineman Clinton Farrell, being carted to the locker room. And it looked like a serious injury. I was like, oh shit, we better not lose him. We're already down Eric Armstead, who hopefully he'll be able to come back for the playoffs. But then the good thing after Kyle Shanahan said in the post game that he avoided a major injury, no ACL or MCL tear. And Farrell, I believe, he said to a reporter himself that he'll do all he can to be back in 2 weeks for the playoffs. So they avoided a bullet. They avoided a bullet pending any X-rays that they do in this coming week. So in the second half, it was mostly backup work, backup duty for San Francisco. But man, were they pissing off Kyle Shanahan and Steve Wilks? They were getting visibly upset. Rookie receiver Ronnie Bell, he was getting yelled at, and I believe it was like a third down incompletion where he didn't finish his route. He was just waltzing by, and then Kyle Shanahan was giving him a lashing or something. And then corner Samuel Womack, he whiffed on receiver Ben Skoranek on a failed fourth down. I think that was where Steve Wilks got furious as well. I don't know. There were a few points where Kyle Shanahan and defensive coordinator Steve Wilks were getting visibly frustrated with some of these backups. I mean, the backups were playing hard. They were playing very competitive, but it's just there are times where, man, you got to step up, man, especially if a starter goes down. Meanwhile, on the Rams side, Carson Wentz, I mean, I don't know, man. Every time he plays the Niners, he always has some vendetta against us because he just plays harder than he needs to. So he had himself a solid outing. He led a long third quarter opening drive, capped off with the rushing touchdown from himself. And then after the interception by Sam Darnold, or the turnover by Sam Darnold, however it was, I forgot. But nonetheless, he had the go-ahead touchdown once that was. And then the 2-point conversion early in the fourth that took the lead and the win. So the Rams won this game 21-20 and snapped some streaks in the process. The Niners' 9-game winning streak against them and the 13-game winning streak versus the NFC West. I mean, at least the Niners will have a clean slate and start something anew. So that's something. That's at least something. But there's something I didn't mention yet for the 49ers coming out of this game. And that is their kicker, Jake Moody. Perhaps the most glaring talking point people took away from this game. Because in the second quarter, Jake Moody missed a 38-yard field goal. And then he also missed an extra point after the 49ers scored their third and final touchdown of the game. So, and then there was I was in the stadium, and then you can hear this loud groan inside Levi's. It was like people were groaning after the extra point. It's like, bro, how could you miss that? How could you miss that kick? So you could tell the disappointment on his face, in his body. It's just like someone that really had a rough day, really felt like he couldn't redeem himself. And had the Niners not turned the ball over, I think in the second half, I feel like there could have been a way to redeem himself, but unfortunately, no, he couldn't. So that's a bit of that's a concern. I probably am a mild to closer to major concern, and probably a very bad time to have that concern. So he better practice hard on his kicking during the bye weeks, because if this pops up again, if this yip comes up again in the playoffs when it matters most, you miss those kicks in the playoffs, you're getting cut. Jake Moody is going to instantly get cut. The Niners are going to be looking hard into finding a more reliable kicker. So I'm hopeful Jake Moody bounces back. I'm like, seriously, he really better bounce back from this yippee of a game. So speaking of the playoffs, I mean, the Niners will have 2 weeks to prepare for their upcoming game, whoever that may be. They'll have to wait until after Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend, Ultra Wild Card Weekend. Look at this freaking Wild Card Weekend, pal. So the potential opponents that they may play, they might play the Rams again for the third time. They might play the Philadelphia Eagles again, or the Bucks a second time, or they might get a first time matchup this season against the Green Bay Packers. Who knows? Either way, all four matchups have the potential to be competitive ones. The Rams, the Eagles, the Bucks took the Niners to the limit. Actually, just the Rams. Take that back. The Rams took the Niners to the limit. In these two matchups, even the backups went to the limit. In that game. The Eagles going downward and downward, but the postseason is a totally different season when it's all said and done. And the Bucks, they just won the division. I mean, they're very inconsistent, but hey, they're feisty. They can still be feisty. And then the Packers, they might have found their next guy in Jordan Love. So we'll see. We'll find out who the Niners opponent will be in 2 weeks when they come to Levi's yet again to host either one of these opponents, or maybe someone else, maybe somebody else. But we will have to wait and see. So anyway, that is it for my recap, my final regular season recap of the 2023 San Francisco 49ers. They lose this one, 21-20. I mean, it's a meaningless game, but I mean, the backups get some valuable playing time, and let's just hope Jake Moody really, really bounces back when it matters most in the postseason. Like, seriously, he has to. Anyway, that is it. I am DylanLasagna, your host of Very Cold Lasagna. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. On to the playoffs, pal. And when we next talk about the 49ers, it'll be in 2 weeks for the divisional. But until then, peace out.